Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's been a while since I've actually been on the screen. Just been busy with work, but anyways, I'm back now. And in this video, what we're going to be talking about is the 5 things that I dislike about the Audi S3. Now, in no way am I saying that I dislike the Audi S3. In fact, I like it a lot. But there are a few things after a few months of ownership that have begun to grate on me a little bit. Number one is the storage. Coming from a Golf, the storage on this thing isn't the best. There's a lot of things that are lacking. The only real storage that you have as a driver are the 2 cup holders up front, the storage bin here, which isn't deep at all, it's only a couple inches if anything, and the small tray underneath your seat as well, and that's it, nothing else really. The problem with having the storage bin here is the fact that you have to lift up the flap to get underneath it, and as a driver it becomes a little bit uncomfortable to do so. I would like to see a little bit more room for me to store things, but I can't live with it. One thing you're going to notice throughout this video is I'm going to be picking on faults that aren't anything too major, and the reason I'm doing that is because there isn't too much that I dislike about the Audi S3. It is an all-round great car. Number 2 is the software glitches. Now, I know these could be sorted in updates, but the version that I have at the moment on the MMI system and the virtual cockpit, there are some software glitches. Some of them might not even be glitches, some of them might just be the way it's actually being written for the code. For example, one of the glitches is that you can set a specific button on your steering wheel to do a certain thing, and it's the button underneath your navigation, and it's sort of like an asterisk. That button, when you long press it, you can set to do certain things. So for example, I have mine set up so that I can change the driver modes from efficiency to comfort to auto to dynamic, etc. Problem is, every now and then it will reset, and it'll reset back to nothing. So you'll be clicking the button and nothing will happen, which means you have to long press it, cycle through, select what you want to set it up as again, and use it like that again. And it'll usually hold that for probably a couple of days, and then it'll raise it again. It's a frequent occurrence with this, and it does get on my nerves a little bit. Another glitch that I've noticed is that when you are driving around, you might be driving around in dynamic mode, for example. You get home, turn the car off, get back in the morning, turn it on, and it'll be out of dynamic mode. It won't be out of dynamic mode as such, it'll still have it selected, it just won't be in that mode. It'll be in like a sort of normal mode by the looks of things. This means that you won't get the pops and the overruns. I still think you get the DSG farts, but you won't get like the pops and the overruns or anything like that. You will have to cycle through to get that over again, so it means having to cycle back through all the modes and then getting it back to dynamic mode. Another thing which I've noticed as well, just starting up the car before, is that the virtual cockpit didn't display properly. It just brought up a dial, and that was it, and it didn't do the needle sweep or anything like that. Just brought up the dials, and it sort of like froze for a little while before it actually got going away again. It's just things like that that you do notice, and some of the things, like I say, do grate on you a little bit more. For example, the special button and also the map select. The virtual cockpit glitch, I've only noticed happen a couple of times. It's nothing that's too frequent, but the other 2 are quite frequent, and they do get on your nerves quite a bit. The third thing that I dislike about the Audi S3 are the gauges, more specifically the temperature and the fuel tank gauges. I'm not too much of a fan of the bars displaying how full you are and how empty you are. Again, coming from the Golf, they had needles on there, and that there was a lot easier to work with. It was a lot easier to read. You understood exactly how much you had full or empty, for example. In this, you've got bars, and you don't know exactly when you are about to tip over to the next bar. And for me, I like a bit more precision, so I like to see where exactly I am on the scale, for example, with the needle. Number 4 is specific to my car, and it's the black paint. I just got the bog standard basic brilliant black paint, and if anything, it's anything but brilliant. It's an extremely soft paint, so even just washing the car, you'll get swirl marks and you get micro scratches over it, and it really does stand out, especially if it's sunny, which isn't all the time in this country, but when it is sunny you can notice it from a mile away. You don't have to be up close to notice it. It also chips very easily as well, and I've noticed just after just a couple months of driving, the front end of the bonnet has become sort of like peppered with stone chips and sort of weird marks that I'm not too familiar with. It's just a real pain to maintain, and I know black paint always is, but this paint, especially with it being so soft, it's incredibly difficult to keep looking good. And if there was one thing that I would change about this car, it would be the paint. I would definitely change the paint. In fact, I'm actually looking at getting it wrapped. I'm not too sure which colour yet though, but I am looking at getting it wrapped just because the paint's just a pain in the arse at the end of the day. And the fifth thing that I dislike about the car is probably the most annoying thing about this car, and apparently it's the same for all 3-door Audis in the A3 S3 range, I believe, but it's the windows, or more specifically the window seals. When it rains or when it's wet outside, if you go over any speed bumps or potholes or anything that is just a difference in the road when it's wet or when it's raining, the window will rattle, and it's right in your ear and it grates on you. That's all it does. It just annoys you. I mean, it's fine when it's dry, but in the wet, it's just there, and it's always there. Now, you can buy certain things to get rid of this, such as gummy pledge. I believe I've got some myself. I put it on a couple months ago and it's worn off already, so it looks like I'm gonna have to be doing that every couple of months, just refreshing the seals. All it does is it just sort of like brings life back to the seals itself and expands them a little bit so it doesn't rattle as much. But apparently it's a common feature, apparently it's a common fault inside of the Audi A3 series with the 3 doors. 5 doors I don't believe is an issue, but 3 doors definitely is. If you do have a 3-door Audi S3, let me know if you get that problem, because if you don't, then I'm probably going to take it back to Audi. I know I should take it back to Audi anyways, because it's, you know, you shouldn't be getting it, but for me it's just a hassle just driving over there, getting the car into the shop for a day, and to be honest, I'd rather just put some gummy pledge on it myself, get it going for another couple of months basically. And that's it. Like I say, you'll probably notice that the faults or the dislikes aren't anything too major, and that's because they're not. I do quite like the Audi S3 a lot, but I had to pick on a few things, and these are just things I've noticed over a couple months of driving. I've also made a small cosmetic modification to the inside of the car, and it's these red rings around the air vents. I think it adds a little bit more of a sportier look. It's a little bit nicer to look at than just the dull black standard plastic. This just gives it a little bit of a nicer feel, I think. Pretty easy mod, pretty cheap to do as well. Cost me about £9 from eBay, and it took me about a minute to install. Wasn't anything too difficult. Simply take off the tape, stick them into place, and you're good to go. Anyways, hopefully I'll get more of these out. If you've liked the video, like the video, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you again later.